Homeward
Mhm.
Bound when the dog and cat return home over the crest of the hill. It gets me every single time.
Can't help but tug at the heartstrings.
Probably any of the Lord of the Rings, whenever you see Sam or Frodo. He just wants to protect his friend and he loves him like family. And I really feel that.
Yeah, I mean, they're going on such an incredible journey. I mean, it's gonna get emotional a couple of times.
I mean, the scene in Up where the wife dies, I sobbed for a good 10 minutes the first time I saw it.
They literally start the movie and they emotionally wreck you, and then you're like, oh yeah, you have another like hour and 20 minutes to make it through.
A movie scene that always makes me emotional is from Good Will Hunting when Robin Williams is telling, I think it's Matt Damon, that it's not his fault. And it's such an emotional movie, and the scene just gets me every time.
Robin Williams, though, such an incredible actor.
So you know the scene in Forrest Gump at the very end, and he's sitting at the end of the driveway, and he's waiting for his kid to come back from school, and he sits on that bench all day long. Cry every time. I could cry right now thinking about it.
That's like peak dad. Oh.
Like most emotional moments I think I have watching any movie is the original Jurassic Park. Is that scene where the T-Rex like pops out of the trees. That is something that invokes fear every time.
Literally just like staring through the pupils undilate. Terrifying. Well, this is an incredible set of answers. So many good movie scenes. You can vote in the chat by typing vote space and the number of the answer you love the most. And the answer that everyone loves the most is going to make it to the final round and compete to be our weekly champion. And the winner is... Oh, Forrest Gump. Taylor, we will see you in the final round to compete to be the weekly champion. But now, viewers, it's time we turn it over to you with a poll. Yes, we're asking you, what movie scene makes you emotional every time? Is it a sad ending like Toy Story 3? Is it a character's death like we talked about with Up? Is it a reunion moment like Shawshank Redemption? Or are you just, movie scenes don't get to you at all? A character's death, yeah. Someone in the chat mentioned Bing Bong's death from Inside Out. Are you kidding? Take her to the moon for me? I can't talk too much about that. But this was a really fun question. Thank you all so much for voting and for submitting your answers. Remember, you can still submit answers after a question ends to appear in a future weekly finale. But now I think it's time we move on to the next question. Okay, this one is for Saturday. Ooh, what's a movie that is so bad that it's just awesome? Like the Rocky Horror Picture Show or The Room, where like the plot makes no sense, the acting might be a little bad. In Rocky Horror's case, that the acting is phenomenal. So, but there's just so many different things that can go wrong, and they can go so incredibly wrong that it's fun. I think for me, I would choose. There's a movie that came out a few years ago called Ma. It stars like Octavia Spencer. That movie is so campy and just so wild that it's kind of become a meme amongst my friends. But that movie just, and Octavia Spencer is easily the best part of that movie, but everything else is just so campy and really bad. But yeah, highly recommended viewing Ma. Don't make me drink alone. Don't make me drink alone. I'm going to stop. That's very niche. But we have some really incredible answers for you all. So I turn it over to you, viewers. And I ask, what's a movie that is so bad that it's awesome?
A movie that is so bad that it's awesome is Sharknado 2, because it has everything you need. Yes, the CGI is bad, but is it a good time? Yes, absolutely. Every time.
The fact that they've made like 17 Sharknado movies, but I've seen the first Sharknado, and that one, speaking of campy cult classics, I mean, the CGI is awful, the acting is awful, the writing is awful, and it makes for a perfect movie. Can't complain.
I'd say Troll 2, if you haven't seen it. It's like a horrible horror movie, but it's so bad. It's very funny, though. Watch with the group, I'd recommend.
Okay, yeah, I've heard about Troll 2. There's that quote where it's like, they're eating her, and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my god. And then it like zooms in into the guy's mouth. Peak cinema, truly. So good.
So the movie that is just so bad, but also so awesome is definitely The Hangover. And I think a lot of people would agree. It's so stupid, but also so awesome. They had to make a bunch of them.
They did. They did. It's weird. Whenever I think about bad movies, I don't think about those. But also like I haven't seen them, so I'll take your word for it, Sonia. But I feel like those movies, just when you're dealing with drunk nights out, there's so many different ways you can go with it, and I mean, hey, people still love it. I think that movie is like one of the highest grossing R-rated comedies ever, so people clearly love them for some reason.
What's a movie that is just so bad that it's awesome? Oh my God. 300. Like,
300.
and I'm not even into medieval, whatever it was. But the graphics, and that Leonidas character, bellissimo. So yeah, 300 for me.
This is Sparta. I remember that movie being just when I was growing up. That movie was such a meme because it was once again campy, but also just so melodramatic. Every line delivered like it is like the climactic line in the movie. So good. And King Leonidas, kind of a looker, not gonna lie.
A movie that is just so bad that it's awesome. For me, the answer would be Balls of Fury. It was a really bad movie, but there were some points where it was funny. I thought it was awesome because it had ping pong in it. Yeah.
Okay, I think that movie's about ping pong, which and I think it's like a sports movie. I think it has like Christopher Walken in it. Christopher Walken, and that's another guy. That's an actor where it's like I know that he has some like really good dramatic roles. I saw him in Dune 2 and he did really well, but he's also just with that accent. Whenever he's in a movie, you're like, oh, this is going to be good. Like it's either going to be extremely funny or it's like, okay, interesting. But when it's extremely funny, nothing else can beat it.
All right, I'm going to go with everyone's favorite, and that's Sharknado. A movie so good they had to make like 7 more. I mean, what's better than a tornado with sharks in it? Like almost sentient sharks that like attack you, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a great movie, but it's also really bad.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that Sharknado is making both Sharknado movies, or 2 of the Sharknado movies, are making an appearance on this list. They're famously bad. I know that what's her name? The Dance Moms coach instructor. Oh, it's gonna bother me what her name was, but I know that she was in the second one, and there's a scene of her getting eaten by a shark just out of nowhere. It's the stuff that you just can't make up. The fact that it's a tornado with sharks and one of them gets like cut in half with a chainsaw. Just like, how do you think of this? And like, how do you write it? How do you film it? Truly, it's like it's God's work. A good deed daily. But these are some really good answers. Some awful movies that I also have loved. And now you're going to have to choose one. Yes, unfortunately, I have to go into the chat and type vote space and the number of the option that you love the most, because only one bad movie can be the best bad movie of them all. I'm looking in the chat. Yeah. Oh, wait, someone mentioned Lake Placid actually, but I don't think that made it into today's show. But yeah, no, there's a lot of good movies. I don't know which one I would. I probably Sharknado, because it's a modern day classic. Or The Room. The Room is hilariously awful. Ooh, Balls of Fury. Ping pong. Whoopsh, whoopsh, whoopsh. Yeah, I feel like that one and Blades. I think the other one is Blades of Glory. With Will Ferrell. Those sports movies, just there's so many incredible opportunities for spoofing. And then I also think there was one about like Eurovision, which I know isn't sports, but I feel like you could loop it in, where it's like these sorts of like documentary, like big events happening, and they just completely lampoon it. Everyone's in it. So good. Yeah. Alan, congratulations. Really incredible answer. And we will see you in the final round. But now, of course, it's time for a poll. Yes, we're asking you, what's your favorite so bad it's good movie? Is it Sharknado? Oh, we have the Twilight series. I know that which mentioned in the chat. Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat, or Madam Web. Okay, yeah, you can vote in the chat. The same way you vote for your favorite answer, you can vote in chat for which answer you liked. Sharknado. Of course, there's a reason why they've made like 6 or 7 Sharknado movies, and it's because the consistent bad quality, the consistency. Love it. Although I will say, Dr. Seuss's Cat in the Hat, fun trivia fact about that one. Apparently, it was so bad as a movie that like a member of like the Seuss family, the Seuss inheritance, the Seuss legacy was like, this movie was so bad that we are not allowing anyone else to make another live action Dr. Seuss adaptation. So the Cat in the Hat movie was so bad that she was literally like, we're done. We're cutting it off here because there's no way I'm letting this happen again. Which, I mean, I feel like that's kind of a badge of honor in a sense. But you know, Sharknado, I guess it's also a good sign if they keep on wanting to make those movies. Well, this was another incredible question. Thank you all so much for your answers in the chat, in the poll, and over our recording. And remember, if you want to record, you can go to the QOTD website. We also have links in the description that you can use to click on a record link and record your answer. But for now, we move on to Sunday's question, which is, what fictional or mythological creature would you want as a pet? Love this question. Yeah. Well, I think it's like there's so many different pets out there. There's you have the broader categories like dragons and pegasi and stuff. But you also have some really good like movie and TV pets, like the ones from Star Trek and Star Wars. I was thinking the fish from Finding Nemo would be pretty fun. I think if you want to have like a good aquarium in your home, granted they would try to break out of it, but while they're in there, it would be like a very cool, colorful thing. And I guess if you treated them nicely, they wouldn't have any reason to escape. The reason why they wanted to is because that little red-headed girl with the pigtails was making their lives hell. But yeah, I think they would be a good squad to have, and you have a starfish to keep the tank clean, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. Yeah, but that's just my proposition. As we know, there's a lot of other fictional pets out there, so we're asking you fans, what fictional pet would you want to have?
This is another easy one. I have always wanted, since I was a little guy, Meowth, the Pokemon. I've always wanted like a talking cat. I always thought it was so cool that there was a Pokemon that not only was super sassy and could talk and had claws and loved gold and coins, but, he was a cat and he was a Pokemon and he had moves. And like, yeah, I want Pokemon to be real, number one, but I definitely want a Meowth.
Yeah, I feel like you could really make that argument for any Pokemon. It's like, yes, you have a cat that talks, which is huge. I do still think that dogs and cats can talk, which we actually have a QOTD question about that. If you could ask your pet one question, what would it be? But really any Pokemon, because they have such cool abilities. You could use your Squirtle to do like a water slide in your backyard. You could use your Charizard to like make a fire. And also, if you got the soft one you can pet, you can have it on your lap and you can be like petting a fox, petting a really cute pet. Artemis, really good answer.
I can't decide whether I go with this one or this one. Can all Pokemons just be real? But if I have to choose, all right, it's Charmander all the way. I don't know why. Maybe because we're matching in color. I love the fire. I love everything about Charmander. So I think I'd love my own Pokemon because I want to be the very best that no one ever was, and I want to catch them all. Just to clarify that.
Mega fan. That was a really good rendition of the theme song. But yeah, continuing the discussion, Pokemon would be so incredible. Actually, message in the chat. I'm curious, what Pokemon would you all want to have as a pet? Because we have Meowth, we have Charmander. Ooh, I don't even know which one I would want to have. Probably, probably like maybe like Jigglypuff. I think that would be fun because Jigglypuff is very huggable, and I'm a person who likes to like interact with your pets. I love to pet my dog. One of my favorite pastimes. So I think Jigglypuff seems like the most huggable. That's just my opinion.
A pocket elf. Did anybody else watch Wizards of Waverly Place and remember when Alex Russo was trying to pass Spanish class and she got a little pocket elf? They were so adorable. I want one. I've never stopped thinking about it since like 2011.
Okay. Well, I think honestly, we're now getting into the point in this question where I start to question, is it a pet or is it a companion? Because I feel like then Elf is very like, that's the same way kind of with Meowth, where it's like they can talk, they can like engage with you. So I'm like, at what point are we like, is it just you have a friend who is maybe a different species from you? I think Pocket Elf probably leans closer to companion, but what is a pet if not a companion at the end of the day? So Taylor, good answer again.
Guys, let's not even pretend. Obviously, me and all of you would also choose fairy godparents that can grant your wishes. Duh. We're all trying to be Timmy Turner. We were all there together wanting fairy godparents.
Once again, another question. Is that a companion? Or, well, honestly, they're sort of like guardians. So it's like, is that a pet or is that a guardian? Yeah, but I think if we well, once again, what is a pet? I mean, I think a lot of dogs and cats would like to assume that they're guardians because they're defending the yard that or the house that they live in. But yeah, I think fairy godparents, I mean, you can get any wish you want granted, and you can do like the most insane wishes. I know that Timmy Turner wished to like stop time for like 70 years, so you could do that if you wanted to. But very useful, very convenient, very practical pet.
This answer is going to show my only childness growing up, but I would totally have Stuart Little as a pet. He's small and portable and can talk, so it's like a small, portable, built-in best friend. Like, who doesn't want one of those?
A portable best friend, a friend you can take anywhere, like a pet rock. Stuart Little, yeah, he's so cute. He's so tiny and just so easy. Although I guess that, as with many things, with like a pet mouse or a pet rat, you have to explain to people why you have a pet rat or a pet mouse. Which, you know, I feel like they'd be kind of gross, but that may be just me.
This is kind of a silly one, but I would absolutely love to have Ned from the band 21 Pilots, their mascot little guy. Oh, I would love to have him as a pet. He's just so cute, so adorable, and I just love him. And oh, oh my god, I want him so bad.
Oh, I actually don't know what this Ned guy is from 21 Pilots, but I know that they released a new album recently. But yeah, there's so many like fictional pets, like the what is it? Like the what is it called from Star Wars? Like the little guys with the wings. But yeah, the sci-fi and fantasy worlds, they definitely have some really nice pets too. Well, these are some incredible answers. Thank you all so much. Unfortunately, now we must choose the best pet in the fictional pantheon, and you can choose by voting in chat, typing vote space, and then your favorite answer. Yeah, I have no clue what people are going to choose. I really love all of these answers. I think, yeah, once again, I think probably Pokemon, honestly, for me. Because I think the other ones were then dipping into like companion territory, which is risky. I think a Pokemon can still be very practical and you can raise it well, but it's also useful. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Bart also was onto this, but you can't compete with someone who has 2 Pokemon stuffed animals and also sings the Pokemon theme song. You know, this getting into the politics of it. If you sing a song, if you show us something, you're gonna win. But Tabitha, this was an incredible answer. We've talked Pokemon, but we definitely all endorse trying to catch them all and having at least one as a pet. But we'll see you in the final round, Tabitha. For now, I turn it over to you, audience, with a poll. Which of these fictional creatures would you want as a pet? Would you want a Pokemon, as we've been talking about? Would you want a dragon, a griffin, which is like I think it's like has the head of a hawk but the body of a lion, and then a Pegasus, which is a flying horse, of course. Ooh, yeah. I could tell before we even started talking about it. Pokemon is definitely the winner. It's Pokemon. You know, there's so many different types. There's so many different powers that they have. It's really just a matter of whether you want one that has electrical powers, can maybe fix your electricity, or if you want like a ghost type. What is that one that's like purple and very like mucky? That one I think would be cool. Or the one that dressed like Pikachu with the paper bag on its head. I think that's very cute. I could go on and on. But yeah, thank you all so much for voting. Thank you all so much for submitting your answers. We'll move on to the next question, which is from Monday. Oh, so we're talking about cult classic movies. There's a lot of those out there, and a lot of reboots that are coming out now. I know that later on this year we have Twisters. They've been talking about a new Legally Blonde movie. So there's a lot. We're living in an era of reboot. Ghostbusters. We're living in an era of reboots. But I think if I had to choose, there's two options for me. One is Death Becomes Her, because I think with the special effects that we have today, I think that we could really go ham with the special effects. And then Clueless, because I want to see how they do the fashion. I think we saw a taste of it with the Mean Girls adaptation, where it was sort of like a little bit more Shein influenced. But I would be very curious to see how they do like the fashion, how they update it for the modern day. If they update it for the modern day, I think that'd be very interesting to see. Eric says we don't need reboots. I think someone in this set of answers agrees with you. Which, speaking of which, I now turn it over to you, fans. Which reboot would you want to see?
I don't know if any of you guys saw that movie Dread with Carl Urban from like 2013, 2011. But it was like it was a reboot of a previous Dredd movie, Judge Dredd. That was really good, and it was really good. I don't know if I want a reboot of it. I want a sequel with Carl Urban because like it was so good. It was like that movie The Raid Redemption, which is another cult movie I wish would have more sequels. But yeah, that movie. If not a sequel, a reboot, because I mean I think that's just a cool idea that deserves to be seen. Because that movie, I think it lost like $6 million, but it was great. It had good reviews. People liked it. It was cool. It was that.
Yeah, I think that's I think I've heard that the Judge Dredd movies were really good, but I think you have to be careful though, because if the movie lost money the first time, you'd have to wonder if it's going to make any money the second time. Also, checking the chat, people are not loving the Clueless reboot idea, which I understand. I feel like it's like sometimes you got to leave the classics alone. Maybe we'll see some answers. Maybe there's some more recent ones people want adopted.
I think Legally Blonde definitely deserves a reboot. So it's been years since the first one came out. So I would definitely like to see a reboot of Legally Blonde. So
say it and it shall be done. There's a Legally Blonde reboot coming out. And I think honestly, with a lot of these answers were made before a lot of these reboots were announced. So we're going to see how many people predicted the future. And in this case, it's pertinent. And Reese Witherspoon is going to be in the reboot too. So huge news for everyone.
The cult classic that I think needs a reboot is definitely The Breakfast Club. You can't hate this movie. You can rewatch it, and it basically applies to everybody. Sadly, the reboot probably will never happen, but generation after generation, this movie applies to everyone, and that needs a reboot.
I'll say it like this: you never know. At this point, there are so many movies that are being rebooted. It probably is only a matter of time before they try to do some sort of iteration, reboot, sequel, something of The Breakfast Club. So, hold out hope.
I would say that The Little Mermaid deserves a reboot. The songs in Little Mermaid are fantastic, and I'd love to see a live action version of having everything under the water.
Now the question is, do you want like an animated reboot? Because they released one, I think that was last year. They did a reboot of The Little Mermaid. So I think the question is now, do you want to do a sequel or something with animation, or do you want to do another live action one? Because I know that there's a sequel to The Little Mermaid. So maybe you can have a LMCU, The Little Mermaid Cinematic Universe. Who knows?
Okay, I'm going to be a little controversial with this answer. And I'm going to say none. Please stop rebooting old movies and TV shows. Like, there are so many incredible new ideas out there that we just need to give a chance to. And there's so many amazing cult classic movies and shows that, like, should just be left as they are because they mean something. They're, like, special in that moment, you know? So, my answer is none. Please stop rebooting old things. Okay, that's all.
Thank you for coming to Erin's TED Talk. I can see why. I totally understand and I do agree with Erin. I can see why there's so many reboots and sequels, because I feel like now more than ever, we're like reaching back in time and pulling back fashion. We're pulling back all of these things from the past. So I can see why there's like, also, I think it's just because they're chasing the money and the money always comes in when it comes to sequels. But yeah, no, there's so many good ideas out there. There's so many good scripts. I'm a huge movie guy, and I always hear about all of these super cool ideas. So I think it's really just a matter of investing in those ideas and supporting them, because they can be really good. They can be big.
I kind of want to see, what's it called, Parent Trap be recreated in like 2022 style, and see how, or like what or who they would cast. Would they stick to the same type of scripts? I kind of want to see that.
That one could be fun. I mean, if you don't have Lindsay Lohan, you're missing a huge part of the movie, though. Maybe you do like a Parent Trap 30 years later. Maybe what it is you have the two siblings. Maybe they each do their Parent Trap, and so you have like a quadruplets, the Parent Trap times 4. Who knows? Or the Parent Trap squared. Just a proposition, just an idea. But these are some really good answers, some very plausible, some good reboots, and then a stark, definitive rebuke of reboots from Erin. Vote for your favorite answer in the chat to tell us which reboot you would want to see, which idea you support the most, and they will compete to be the champion of the whole week. Yeah, Erin is taking a hard stance. I am very impressed that Miss Campbell managed to predict the Legally Blonde one. Yeah, I think there's some good ideas in here. Also, yeah, I'm curious to see who's going to win. Oh, so people want the Breakfast Club. The people have spoken, and they are ready for the Breakfast Club to Electric Boogaloo. I feel like if you were going to do a Breakfast Club sequel, you would need to do like, I think if we were going to do like a reboot, you would need to just like do a whole bunch of stuff different. Because I've watched that movie and there's some parts of it that I'm like, that you would not be able to do that today. I think the whole idea, honestly, also, I think, especially as a Gen Z person, I think the sentiment of the movie of like grappling with growing up, of course, is still pertinent today. So I think you would find an audience, but it would definitely need to be updated a little bit. But Michael, I think this is a great idea. Film execs, if you're watching, take notes, or given our ideas in the chat, maybe don't, maybe actively avoid this idea. But now we move on to the poll for this question. What cult classic movie or TV show do you think deserves a reboot? We have Starship Troopers, Napoleon Dynamite, DuckTales, or The Craft. Napoleon Dynamite would be insane. Like, I think that movie sort of predicated a lot of, Starship Troopers, followed by The Craft. Okay. Yeah, I see. I think the Starship Troopers with like maybe more modern CGI. Also, if it's a critique of the military industrial complex, that could be very interesting. I would see that movie. I would love to see sort of the idea of like the military relationship with it examined, and definitely with some very cool special effects. I know what people are capable of. But this has been such a fun question, exploring the possible reboots that could come out. Now we must move on to our next question. This is for Tuesday. Ooh, what book or movie has impacted you the most? Today, of course, we're focusing on movies, given that it's Movies Week. There's so many good movies out there. So I think it's hard to choose one, because I've seen so many movies, and all of them, I would say, have affected me in some little way. But in terms of the ones that have affected me the most, there are two. It's either Parasite or Hereditary. Now, if you don't know, Parasite was released in 2018. It was a Korean movie about a family that like infiltrates a wealthy family by taking jobs. And that movie, just life-changing experience in the movie. Speaking of emotional scenes, I felt every single emotion watching that movie. So good. And it swept the Oscars later that year, so I felt very vindicated. I felt my taste was validated. And then Hereditary, so terrifying, so just a visceral experience, truly. And I saw that movie with my mom, which, if you've seen Hereditary and you know about what the plot of that movie is, you know that that's wild. There's a scene where a mom tells her son that she didn't want to have him, and just watching that movie, watching that scene with my mom, and hearing the mom say, "I never wanted to be your mother." I literally turned left. I was like, "Do you feel this way, mom?" Anyway, but that movie was very scary, and definitely further ignited my love of horror movies. But there's so many good movies out there. I can't wait to see all these answers. So fans, we ask you, what movie or book, you can do book, has impacted you the most?
There's a movie that is made in my country. The name is Seven Boxes, and it's really good. And it was a movie that wins a lot of awards. So I'm proud of it, and that changed my life.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think international cinema, as you were talking about with Parasite, it's very important to interact with it and to watch those movies. I know that some very good movies can act as like a symbol of national pride. So, Ximena, great answer.
Dr. Greger's book, How Not to Die, got me into nutritional science and my own health. And it's been invaluable in my life and makes me feel safe about the food I'm eating and what I'm choosing to put into my body.
How Not to Die. I love that title. But yeah, no, I've recently been getting more and more turned on to like how what you eat and like just how you basically take care of yourself affects so much of, like, I saw that CNN documentary. I think it was like the whole story with Anderson Cooper about how people were like able to reverse the effects of dementia just by exercising, eating healthy, getting sleep. So definitely, honestly, yeah, the book title is very accurate. If you want to survive, if you want to live to a healthy age, eat well.
Probably Back to the Future. I don't really know why. I just love that movie and I watched it over and over again.
Where we're going, we don't need roads. Glasses on. Such a good movie. Another one of those classic movies. That I feel like that's almost required viewing. You know, it's the DeLorean, such an incredible car. And that movie impacted a lot of just cinema generally. So Bailey, incredible choice.
I would say Harry Potter just because it was a fun read.
Harry Potter. Yeah. Harry Potter. I mean, there's a reason why there were 8 movies, 7 books, like 17 rides at Universal. And now they're still making movies and books. I know a lot of people got tattoos. Everyone knows their Harry Potter house. Another one where it's just like it impacted people, it impacted film, it just impacted society generally. So really great option.
The newest Joker really speaks a lot to mental health and how those around you can really.
So yes, Allie was saying Joker. Fun. That movie has a sequel coming out this year that I could not be more excited for. Joker Folie à Deux. It's a musical. It's a jukebox musical with Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix. You know that opening day, I will be sad. But yeah, I heard a lot of people talking about how that movie. I feel like that's how it is with a lot of superhero movies, where they can get really deep into the emotional part of it, and especially with Joker talking about mental health and how important it is to take care of it and how it can affect people. It's a very timely topic.
I think the book that impacted me the most is Rich Dad Poor Dad. It allowed me to pursue a career in finance.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think once again, it's one of those things. Financial literacy is so important. And I mean, I'm lucky because I have family members who work in like investing in finance. But yeah, it's so important to understand how to manage your money and how to make your money work for you even. So all great answers. But unfortunately, only one can make it to our final round. So fans, we turn it over to you to vote for your favorite answer. You can vote by typing vote space and then the number of the answer you love the most in chat. There's a lot of good ones in here. I don't know which one I'm going to choose. I think Harry Potter is really good. Back to the Future is really good. And then also, I know it's movies week, but there's some good books in there too. Yeah, and especially number 2 and number 6, they're like not so much emotional, it's just like practical things to remember. Harry Potter. There you go. Yeah, Harry Potter, I mean, huge, truly. One of the most successful media franchises, and just the effects on culture cannot be overstated. But I know a lot of people and probably taught you like question everything, see the world in a more magical way. Fiction just has that power, especially for young people. Really good answer, Caitlin. We will see you in the final round. But now, viewers, it's time for a poll. What book or movie has impacted you the most? We have some good options. We have Schindler's List, Harry Potter, as we talked about, Oppenheimer, or To Kill a Mockingbird. Wow. Really, I don't think you can go wrong here. Harry Potter, followed by Schindler's List. Harry Potter, I mean, it's a behemoth. I know that for especially amongst my age group, a lot of people really love Harry Potter and those like the Hunger Games and all of those YA novel series. They just they took the world by storm. So, and a lot of them they still hold up today. So, I think that's a really good option. Well, thank you all so much for your answers across the poll and the recordings. We will now move right along to this is Wednesday's question. Ooh, okay. So if you could live in any fictional universe, which would it be? There's so many good ones out there. I mean, I think when I think of this, I immediately think sci-fi fantasy because, of course, the whole thing is that there are different universes. And if I were to take the route of sci-fi movies, I would say Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, and also that's technically cheating because it's a multiverse. So I guess if I had to choose one, I would choose the hot dog fingers universe because I am just so curious about what that looks like. How do you use your fingers for hot dogs? How much can you do with your toes? Like, can you operate a film camera with your toes? So many questions posed by this one universe in this one movie. But I think that Everything Everywhere All at Once, the idea of a universe that is itself connected to other ones, that you can access other universes, is huge. So I would definitely choose that one. I think that one would have the most possibilities and would be the most fun. But that's just me. I know that we have a lot of other fictional universes to explore. So fans, I turn it over to you. What fictional universe would you want to live in?
I really wanted to be in the Game of Thrones universe until I realized how fast I would die. So probably the Marvel universe. I'd love to be saved by Iron Man.
Hey, House of the Dragon season 2 out now. But yeah, literally every character in that show is at risk of dying. And I would say most of them do die. So Sarah, I think for your sake, good idea to not choose Game of Thrones. But Marvel, I mean, it's not that it's worse, but you're still going to face so much destruction. You could have been Thanos snapped. So either way, like in Game of Thrones, you're in danger, and in Marvel, you're also in danger because 50% of the population of the universe could get exterminated like that. So Sarah, Knight, good luck.
I believe that there is a multiverse out there, right? Anytime I feel like a deja vu, like, oh, I've been here, I've done that, I think maybe another version of me in a different world has done something like this. I would want to live in that world, but only if it was better than my world. I think that they exist, other versions of us exist, and I would actually want to try out living in one of those places.
So I think Ramen is kind of taking my side of the whole thing, where she's like, I want to live in Everything Everywhere All at Once, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, one of those like superhero franchises with multiple universes. I totally get that. Although I think the prime thing would be you would want to, I think what you said, you would want to live in the universe where you're your best possible self, because otherwise, what's the point?
If I could live in a fictional universe, I think I'd be a little bit scared because I don't know what type of like conditions are going to exist in that realm. So I think anything benevolent like fairies or some type of like medieval kingdom like based on Disney wouldn't be too scary. But anything else, I'd be a little bit reluctant.
Okay. Yeah, I see Disney. Although Disney is kind of dangerous if you're like a parent or if you're a villain, you might have to watch out. But yeah, I see that. It's also just a lot more kind. Morally, you would know that people are going to get what's coming to them. So I think Disney, I think the morality of the universe of Disney would be very comforting to live in.
If I could live in a fictional universe, I would live in Once Upon a Time. I would want it to be like that because they had an adventure every single day, every moment, and it was always something to keep you on edge. So if I lived in a universe, it would have to be Once Upon a Time because you just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And also I think Once Upon a Time, that's also kind of like very Disney-esque. Well, I mean, they're literally taking Disney characters. So I think that's another one of those movies where, yeah, there might be a little bit more drama because it's a TV show, but then at the end of the day, it's Disney characters. How dangerous could it be?
If I could live in a fictional universe, it would definitely be Avatar because I love the scenery. I love how it's just all magic. And also the fact how if you die, your spirit or soul lives on in this tree. So basically you're still there. And
That's true.
I think they put a lot of work into it, you know, just like Lord of the Rings and all fictional. I love all fictional movies, to be honest.
Yeah. But I think once again, I think we're talking about the danger of every universe. Not when you have the danger of colonialism, imperialism, because you have, humans trying to take over the whole planet, trying to take advantage of this unobtainium resource. But I think also if you didn't have to worry about that, that would be super nice. You wouldn't have to, you would be able to fly on those creatures. You would be surrounded by such lush nature. Yeah, I think that would be in a really incredible universe. And like you said, if you die, you get to live on in that tree and you get to like soul bond with all the other creatures on that world. So it's really like it's a huge macro organism that you would be a part of, which is I think it's comforting. Even if you pass on, you don't really pass on. You're still there.
I think that I would live in the Naruto fictional universe. I think it would be pretty cool to be able to generate your own chakra and like get power out of that to do different things, and also be like very agile to like walk on walls and jump like super high and travel fast.
Yes. Honestly, I think that's one of the arguments for like living in a universe where everyone has a superpower, because then you can just like, how much better would life be if you could like fly anywhere, if you could like jump super high to avoid danger, or if you could like be super strong and you wouldn't have to worry about like moving in anywhere. So many different things. But yeah, Naruto, got to practice your Naruto run though. For people who don't know, it's when people run, you can't really see it well, but they like put their arms behind them and apparently that helps them run fast. You'd have to practice that. You would have to get really good. But these are some really good answers. I don't know how people are going to vote, but they're going to have to vote for your favorite fictional universe. So get into that chat and type vote space and the answer you love the most. Yeah, some good ones. We got Disney from Devin. We got Marvel from Sarah Knight. We got Avatar from Smiley. So many different good options. I love all of these. Yeah, and then Naruto. Got to remember, practice that run. Yeah, let's see who's going to win. I'm super curious. It really just depends on your taste in TV show, Ramen. Okay. So people are a fan of choice. They want to be able to choose which multiverse what universe they want to live in. And they want to have access to it, which we don't have that now. I know the people talk about that theory, but to make that theory in a reality would be super nice. So many different options. Imagine the things you could do. But Ramen, this is an incredible answer. We will see you in the final round. And now we continue on to our poll. So what fictional universe would you want to live in? If you had your choice, Would you want to do The Chronicles of Narnia? I know people in the chat talked about Barbie, so Barbie's up there. The Walking Dead is an option, zombies, or Doctor Who. Honestly, Doctor Who is a good option. Chronicles of Narnia, love. Yeah. I mean, I think all those fantasy worlds are super cool, and being able to access sort of this storybook realm and be able to like be king and queen of it for a while. Don't have to worry about time passing. You could like spend as much time as you want in there, and you could just like go and continue what you were doing. Oh, what are those sweets that they eat in the first movie? There's one that's like what's gonna bug me, but the sweets that they have in the first movie, I literally would go to that universe just to taste those. So I think someone sent to the chat. I think it's like something delights. But really good choices, everyone. Great voting. Sad that Barbie didn't win, but maybe I think we would want to live in like the pre Mojo Dojo Casa House version of Barbie, where everything is nice, there's no problems, and misogyny hasn't infected society yet. But let's move on to our final prompt of the whole week. We're talking about upcoming movies. Yes, 2024, as we've talking about, has a lot of really good movies coming up, but we want to know which one you're most excited for. I, as I alluded to, am a horror person, and there's a lot of good, scary stuff coming out this year. I know that I saw The First Omen recently. I know there's a movie, Late Night with the Devil, that came out. But the two movies I'm most excited for are this movie, Longlegs, first, and A Quiet Place Day One. A Quiet Place Day One, because the Quiet Place movies have been so good. You know, I love all of them, and it looks super action-packed, super scary, and just, I know that it's going to eat. And then Longlegs, it's a movie about a serial killer and an FBI agent, like sort of a cat and mouse type deal. And it has Nicolas Cage as the serial killer. I mean, need I say more? It's going to be so, I've been seeing trailers for it online. There was like a super cryptic marketing campaign on TikTok. I'm just so ready. Oh, and someone just mentioned the chat, Maxxxine. I love those movies like X and Pearl. So I'm also super pumped for Maxxxine. I know that movie is going to eat. Like, it's just going to be so good. There's so many good movies. I can't wait to see them. And I know that you all have some really good answers. So before I nerd out too much, I'll ask you, what movie are you most excited for this year?
It would be Kung Fu Panda 4, since the last movie was a minor disappointment for me, at least. And I would love to see how they're going to bring the story forward with Pooh, since it feels like everything's been explained. And so that's like the movie that I'm looking forward the most in 2024.
Hey, if there's one thing I know, it's that they will introduce any sort of plot line in order to justify making more movies. But I know that there's also like Despicable Me 4 is coming out this year. I heard good things about Kung Fu Panda 4. So that one I know that it's already out, but that one is still on my list to watch for sure.
Honestly, I'm most excited to see Inside Out 2. I love the first one, so I'm super excited for this one. Yeah.
Inside Out 2, as I just saw it literally this weekend, it was so good. You all need to go see it right now. It literally, and I also, Inside Out 1 is one of my favorite movies, made me cry. I talked about it earlier. But Inside Out 2, it was so good. I think it was so well done. I did tear up a little bit at the end, of course. But yeah, no. If you go and watch Inside Out 2, you're not going to be disappointed.
In 2024, I'm most looking forward to Spider-Verse 3 if it comes out. It might come out the next year, but I'm excited whenever it does. But if not, then I think Elio is a new Pixar movie that looks pretty cute. So
I don't think Spider-Verse 3 is coming out this year. I know that they said that they would, but I've been seeing people online talking, and I don't think it's coming out this year. It's a lot of work to put in to get it to come out this year. But 2025, I think we'll ask this question again in 2025. Those two movies are going to be incredible.
I'll admit it. I'm a bit of a sucker when it comes to IP and IP movies. So, I'm a Marvel guy, Star Wars guy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Deadpool 3. But before Marvel, before all that, there was one franchise that meant a lot. And that is Ghostbusters. And Ghostbusters Afterlife, I loved, so I'm very much looking forward to the new Ghostbusters movie. That probably is my most anticipated flick of 2024.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I heard good things about that. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire as well. Deadpool 3. I saw that they released those popcorn buckets as a spoof of the Dune 2 popcorn buckets. So if that's any indication of the hilarity and the quality of that movie, I think we're going to be in very good hands.
Twisters, actually, which apparently is supposed to be some sort of continuation from the original Twister movie back in the 90s. Although, I have to say, it's going to be hard to top Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt.
That's true. That's true. I think that movie's going to rock. I might see it. I probably will see it, honestly, because it looks like it's going to be very action-packed. I've been going on a little bit of a tornado video kick. Like I've been watching a lot of video essays, so it feels only right that I would go and see a movie about two big twisters. Can't be more excited.
So it's not a new release. They're probably a series of cult classics. So I haven't been able to watch a bunch because we've had children and they just haven't been age appropriate. But they just recently binge watched Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. And we realised that they're old enough to enjoy some of these cult classics from when we were younger. So I'm excited in the new year to share more of the cult classics of my childhood. So I think The Labyrinth, along with The Goonies.
Love. Yeah, no, I think that counts. You know, that you're watching the movies this year for the first time. 2 Back to the Future mentions. Very impressive. Make sure don't do any reboots though. We're not talking about any reboots for those movies. They're not good enough. No, they are good, but just a reboot would be a bad idea. But there's so many good movies here. Cannot wait to see all of them. But unfortunately, there can only be one anticipated movie. So fans, vote in the chat for which movie you are most pumped to see. Vote by typing vote space and then the answer you love the most, 1 through 6. I don't know. I have literally no clue. There's so many good ones. Twisters, Inside Out 2. A couple of them have already come out. Kung Fu Panda 4 is and Ghostbusters have come out, but I think you can still be excited to see them. Spider-Verse for sure. Yeah. I mean, the first 2 ones are such classics that I like already, and I watched them. They're so good that the third one, the emotional stakes are so high. The animation's going to be so good. Everything's just going to be, I hope, everything's going to be just such a higher tier that it's going to be one of the greatest movies ever made, quite frankly. And then Elio, that's a Pixar movie about a guy who gets abducted by aliens, a kid who gets abducted by aliens. That should be fun. Pixar, I have my trust in Pixar. I think they have good quality. But 2 very good movies, Hannah. Can't wait to see them either. Let's ask you fans. We have a poll. What upcoming movie are you most looking forward to yourself? Is it an animated movie like Moana 2, also coming this year? A scary movie like A Quiet Place Day 1? A superhero movie like Deadpool and Wolverine, Deadpool 3? Or a comedy movie like Despicable Me 4? Comedy. Despicable Me 4 is going to be, listen, as a person who watched the Minions and really loved it, I think the Despicable Me franchise, it's always going to be very funny. And yes, it's going to be kid-friendly, but hey, who doesn't want kid-friendliness once in a while? I'm trying to think about other good comedy movies that are coming out this year. I know that there was that recent one, Hitman, that starred Colin Powell on Netflix. I heard really good things about that, so I can't wait to see that one either. But yeah, I feel like there's just so many good movies out there. There's going to be something for everyone. Wow, these are some really good questions, some really good answers. And now there's only one thing left to do, and it is the championship round. Yeah, that's right. We are going to vote for our weekly champion. We have gotten all of the questions for the week. We have gotten all of our semifinalists, and now it's time to select the very best answer of the week and crown them. Put the crown on the head. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a very quick review of the answer from the show. We've been here for an hour, y'all. It's been a lot of answers that we've seen. So I think without further ado, let's do a quick recap so you know who you're voting for.
In 2024, I'm most looking forward to Spider-Verse 3 if it comes out. It might come out the next year, but I'm excited whenever it does. But if not, then I think Elio is a new Pixar movie that looks pretty cute. So
Agreed. Hannah is answering the question, what upcoming movie are you excited to see this year? And she is saying 2 movies that are coming out in 2025, but still look incredibly good.
The cult classic that I think needs a reboot is definitely The Breakfast Club. You can't hate this movie. You can rewatch it, and it basically applies to everybody. Sadly, the reboot probably will never happen, but generation after generation, this movie applies to everyone, and that needs a reboot.
Hey, never say never, Michael. You don't know what would happen. Michael is answering the question, what cult classic movie needs a reboot? Some may argue none, but Michael says this one.
I believe that there is a multiverse out there, right? Anytime I feel like a deja vu, like, oh, I've been here, I've done that, I think maybe another version of me in a different world has done something like this. I would want to live in that world, but only if it was better than my world. I think that they exist, other versions of us exist, and I would actually want to try out living in one of those places.
Nice, nice. So Rama is answering the question, if you could live in any fictional world, which would you want to live in? And she's sort of saying like a multiverse sort of universe where you are able to access another universe, a universe with a better version of yourself. Currently, we can't do that, so probably thinking like Everything Ever All at Once, Doctor Strange, a movie like that.
So you know the scene in Forrest Gump at the very end, and he's sitting at the end of the driveway, and he's waiting for his kid to come back from school, and he sits on that bench all day long and waits for his son to get back from school. I cry every time. I could cry right now thinking about it.
So sad. Yeah, Taylor is answering the question, what is a movie scene that gets you emotional every time? And you can't compete with Forrest Gump, Tom Hanks. I think there was like Robert, was that Steven Spielberg or Robert Zemeckis? I don't know. But, you know, you can't compete with that sort of movie. It's going to bring tears to your eyes every time.
I can't decide whether I go with this one or this one. And all Pokemons, just be real. But if I have to choose, all right, it's Charmander all the way. I don't know why. Maybe because we're matching in color. I love the fire. I love everything about Charmander. So I think I'd love my own Pokemon because I want to be the very best that no one ever was, and I want to catch them all. Just to clarify there.
Of course. Yes. Tabitha wants to catch them all. Tabitha is answering the question, what fictional or mythological creature would you want as a pet? And she is choosing Charmander, but really any Pokemon out there is a good answer. Also, Pikachu was just discarded, so maybe Pikachu might harbor some ill will.
I would say Harry Potter just because it was a fun read.
Yes. So Caitlin is answering the question, what book or movie has impacted you the most? And she's doing two. She's doing a book and a movie. Harry Potter took the world by storm, so I get it. I empathize.
A movie that is just so bad that it's awesome. For me, the answer would be Balls of Fury. It was a really bad movie, but you know there were some points where it was funny. I thought it was awesome because it had ping pong in it. Yeah.
So Alan is answering the question, what movie is so bad that it's awesome? And he is already cracking a smile about Balls of Fury. Such a good title. Well, everyone, these are our answers, our candidates for Weekly Champion. Vote in the chat now so you can choose who is the winner for Movie Week at QOTD. And once again, you can type vote space and then your answer. Oh, this is it. Some really good movie questions this week and some really good answers. I have no clue who's going to win. It really, truly is anyone's game. I don't know. I do like how Tabitha was so into it, but Taylor's was so sad. That Balls of Fury was so bad. Oh, and we're going with Taylor with an extremely sad scene from a classic movie. I mean, Forrest Gump. You can't compete with that. Jenny. Yeah, so good. But that was such an incredible set of questions. Congratulations again, Taylor. You are the winner. You get we're taking the crown, putting the proverbial crown on your head. Thank you all so much for an outstanding week of movies. We really enjoyed all of your answers. Unfortunately, movie week has come to an end, but fortunately, that means we have a new theme. We have a new set of questions starting tomorrow. And drum roll, please, everyone. I'm going to tell you what that theme is. The week is Celebrity Week. Yes, we're going from films to celebrities, which is fitting, because any film needs a good bankable star. So, I mean, we're going to be talking about all of your favorite celebrities, the celebrities that you love, the celebrity that you would want to be if you could get the chance to be famous. And we're also dipping into like different ways that we interact with celebrities, some really good celebrity hypothetical situations, who you would want celebrity parents to be. That's just one question we're going to ask. But to give you even more of a hint for the theme and to give you a head start on the question for tomorrow, we're asking you, what celebrity would you want on your zombie apocalypse survival squad? That is the question we're starting with tomorrow. That question will become available tonight at midnight. Or tomorrow at midnight, I guess. But so you can answer that at QOTD.beyondtheair.com. Remember, everyone, you can play QOTD at any time. You can play, you can watch, you can vote, you can record, and you can play our other Beyond the Air games. We have, of course, Sketch the Cat, and we have a new game called the Play Along game that we are introducing. We're rolling out. So make sure to check that out. You can go to beyondtheair.com, I think. Play.beyondtheair.com, stc.beyondtheair.com, QOTD.beyondtheair.com. There's a lot of ways you can play our games. But for now, and be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can get notified about each day's new question. And when we're going live with next week's weekly finale show, without further ado, I am JJ, and I cannot wait to see you all on TV. Bye, everyone. See you next Thursday.